the Auburn Blitz Podcast, your direct source for all Auburn all the time with Brett Pritchard, Faith Richardson, and Randy Lee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Blitz Podcast here on this Monday morning. Glad all of you are joining us whenever it is that you get to tune us in. And we get to start off with the man himself, Andy Burcham, the voice of the Auburn Tigers. And Andy, so good to see you this morning. Glad to have you on the show, my man. And we got a lot to try to cram in here in the next 10 to 12 minutes. But appreciate you jumping on this morning early with us.
It's my pleasure to be with you today. Busy time as we get ready to head Tuesday for Auburn baseball up in Madison, Alabama, and then leave Wednesday and head on up to Nashville for the SEC tournament.
At this time of year, there's no rest for the weary.
Right.
No rest. Faith, I know you're down there partying it up at the beach. We're glad that you were able to set your clocks right and get up with us this morning and join us. You have the little time setback. Can we just keep this time like this, please? If we could just keep this year-round, I'd be fine with it. It's a little bit of an adjustment when you have to lose an hour of sleep, but I'd just rather keep this year round and stay that way. Well, Andy, let's jump right in. Man, what a season this has been for Auburn basketball. I know it hasn't ended the way we wanted it to in the regular season, but Auburn a week ago Saturday clinched the SEC regular season championship, and I know that was goal number one, and they accomplished that. So don't want to say that these games didn't matter. Of course, every time you go on the floor, you want to win. But just an opportunity to go ahead and hang another banner and move into the postseason as a number one overall seed.
I think that's the most important thing, too. I mean, winning an SEC championship was very, very important to this team, and it was able to do that with 2 games to play. Yes, Auburn would have liked to have gone into the postseason on a higher note. The loss at Texas A&M on Tuesday night, and then just a thrilling game on Saturday in the overtime loss to Alabama. But Auburn goes in with an SEC championship. Auburn has a chance to win its second straight SEC tournament championship. And I truly believe that Auburn is the number one overall seed in the NCAA tournament going in with those 16 quad one wins. So, yeah, this is an exciting time for this Auburn basketball team. I think there are some concerns, especially in the rebounding category in these last 2 ball games on the defensive end. But a chance to reset, so to speak, for this Auburn team. Auburn doesn't play till Friday at noon Central Time, so I like the way I like where Auburn is as it gets ready now for the SEC tournament.
Faith, I think that was kind of something you wanted to ask Andy. He may have headed you off a little bit with that response, but maybe some concerns a little bit, Faith, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, there's been a great beginning of, or I guess kind of great regular season we've had in general. And then now just we've had a tough last couple stretch that, Brett and I, we've talked about that for sure. The past couple weeks that just finishing out strong has been a priority. But yeah, definitely I'm with you, Andy, with the rebounding and stuff like that too from all this.
Andy, talk about that for just a second. I want to go back to the Alabama game for just a second. It's not that Auburn didn't play well. I thought Auburn played well. I thought there were stretches they could have done some things, but Alabama kind of changed their mantra, and they wanted to attack inside, and they were able to get downhill and make some baskets, right at the rim. But Auburn scored 91 points, had the ball in their hand with a chance to win it in regulation. I thought Janai Broome hit some unbelievable three-pointers to keep us where we were there in overtime. Just kind of talk about that game, because Alabama coming in on a 2-game losing streak, their backs were kind of against the wall. They were trending downward. But, hey, sometimes you got to tip your hat. Alabama's got a great basketball team. Grant Nelson played out of his mind.
Well, and he had struggled coming in. And really
right.
since the Auburn game back in February, his numbers had been going down. But he was, I thought, the difference for Alabama. We saw the Grant Nelson from a year ago, I thought.
We did.
On Saturday, and he was really, really good, especially in the first half, both inside and outside. I thought Clifford Amore had his second straight really strong game against Auburn. He was really good in Tuscaloosa, and I thought was even better on Saturday. And then Mark Sears made the shot that he had to take when he turned the corner in overtime and got downhill down the lane and made the game winner. Janai Broome showed why he should be the National Player of the Year with 34 points on Saturday in the biggest game of the day, certainly across the country, number 1 versus number 7. And he was very, very good for Auburn. And Brett, you mentioned him. He had a chance to win at regulation.
Yeah.
And we've seen him make that shot, that very shot,
right
before. So it was the thing that concerns me for Auburn, 2 straight games, is how Auburn has been beaten on Auburn's defensive glass. Gave up 24 offensive rebounds last Tuesday to Texas A&M. I thought Alabama did a good job, not as well as Texas A&M, but got some big second chances in that game Saturday. And you're right in the fact that it was not the Alabama team that just shot threes all day long. They decided to go inside, and I thought it paid off for the Crimson Tide.
So kind of what you just touched on a little bit with Janai and how he scored 34 points against Alabama. In between him and Cooper Flagg has been the big talk about who's going to be National Player of the Year. Who do you think is kind of the lead runner right now of Player of the Year in your eyes?
Yeah, I think that's a 2-part question, Paige. I think Janai Broome should be the National Player of the Year. You look at his body of work against Auburn's schedule this season, and there's no comparison between the Southeastern Conference this year and the ACC this year. I am not taking anything away from the talent and the year that Cooper Flagg has had. He has been terrific. He's likely going to be the number 1 pick in the NBA draft come in June, and he deserves every accolade that he gets, including if he is named National Player of the Year. I mean, you can't take away what he has done. I just think what Janai Broome has done this year on the best team in the country this year against the best schedule in the country this year is the reason that Janai Broome should be the National Player of the Year. Am I talking through orange and blue glasses? Yes, no question about that.
No.
But
I think you bring that up. I think, Andy, you're spot on. I mean, when you look at, if we're going to look at, just stats, well, there's a lot of guys that can put up stats at smaller schools and maybe have better numbers. But when you look at competition, to me, that's what determines who's the best in the country. And without a question, Auburn has played one of the hardest schedules just naturally playing in this league. I was going to ask you about this conference this year. You've been calling Auburn basketball over a great stretch now, Andy, and you look at all the different accolades that Bruce Pearl's been able to bring to this program just in the last 7 years. And this is the strongest I think any of us have ever seen this conference, save, South Carolina, LSU down at the bottom. But, look, last year, South Carolina, when they rolled into Auburn, they were the number 1 team in the league, and Auburn beat them by 40. They still had a good year. But this is the strongest I think we've ever seen this league. And for Janai Broome to do what he's done, to me, if they discredit that, then that's a shame on the national media.
I think the Southeastern Conference is the best that we've ever seen it, period. And I think you can say that this Southeastern Conference season is among the very best conferences we've ever seen across the landscape of college basketball, because we may see 12 to 13 teams a week from yesterday that are selected in the NCAA tournament this coming Sunday. And remember, in 2016, we saw 3 SEC teams in the tournament, and one of those was in a play-in game. And this year, we may see 12 or 13 teams in. We've never seen this SEC as strong as it has been in college basketball than this season. And Auburn won it with 2 games to spare, and Janai Broome has averaged a double-double, has led Auburn in points, rebounds, assists, and blocks all season long. He has been the best player on the best team, and that's why I think that he should be the National Player of the Year.
Let's talk about how Auburn approaches this SEC tournament. Last year, Auburn won the SEC tournament, beat a good Florida team. It didn't help them. Let's just be honest. It didn't help them. They didn't increase, their seed. You want to hang a banner. It's great to win a tournament. This is a different scenario this year. Auburn has locked this regular season championship up over a week ago now. You got some guys that are banged up. I mean, let's be honest. It's a grueling season, trying to get healthy. And to look at facts, I'm a facts guy, Andy. Unfortunately, Auburn's been out of the first weekend one time in 5 tournament appearances under Bruce Pearl, and that was the year they went to the Final Four. I think Auburn's priority, you want to win the tournament, but it's not imperative. I think the important part being potentially a number 1 overall seed in this tournament is to get as healthy as possible and get revved up and make a run here in March. That, to me, is where you're remembered. And Auburn's going to remember this season no matter what. But let's be honest, it's all about what you do in March, and I think Auburn needs to be ready going into that first week.
Well, and I agree sort of with you. Yes, with this ball club especially, the NCAA tournament is the top priority because we know that this team can make a deep – this team can win it all.
This team can win it. They can win it.
I don't think that takes away from the importance, though, of the SEC tournament. As far as resting and getting healthy, you've got a week now to do that. I mean, Auburn doesn't play till Friday. Auburn doesn't play Wednesday. Auburn doesn't play Thursday. It doesn't go to Nashville till Wednesday, and it's got some time to heal up and be ready. I don't think it takes away from the importance of the SEC tournament just because Auburn hasn't been out of the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament since 2019. I think you still have to find a balance, and I guarantee you Bruce Pearl isn't sitting back going, hey, let's just rest up in the SEC tournament and get ready for the day. That's not in his nature. Auburn's the defending SEC tournament champion. Auburn wants to go back. Auburn wants to pull off the double-double this year, win the regular season and the SEC tournament championship, and then get ready for the NCAA. I think Auburn's the number 1 overall seed. I think Auburn's going to go to Lexington in the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament and then go from there to Atlanta and then from Atlanta to San Antonio. I don't think that this team lets off the gas. In spite of the fact that it has lost 2 straight games going into this. I think this team wants to continue the momentum from the regular season, and whomever they play on Friday at noon, win that ball game and then get ready for the semifinals on Saturday and hopefully the championship game on Sunday. And then you're in Nashville when the NCAA tournament field is announced.
Faith, I'm going to let you ask a question here just a second about going back over the last couple of years, some comparable teams. But Andy, I want to add one more point. Also, neutral site games. Auburn's been great this year, and I know we haven't seen a lot of neutral site games since conference play has started, but basically went to Houston. It was a home game for them. One, we know how good Houston is. You come back and you see what they did in Maui, and that's definitely a neutral site game. And the caliber teams they beat there, the Purdue game. I mean, nobody's beaten Purdue like that this year. The thumping they put on Ohio State in Atlanta. I like where this team is when they go play on a neutral floor. I think that's going to make a big difference too.
Well, and I think the Yale game is fresh on their mind from a year ago. I do. I think they have used that to their advantage. They've used that to spur them on. I know the head coach certainly has. They've not forgotten what it was like to win that SEC tournament a year ago, fly to Spokane, Washington, and lose to Yale in the first game of the NCAA tournament a year ago. So, and Auburn's undefeated this season on a neutral floor, and really hasn't had a close game other than Iowa State.
True.
On a neutral floor of Iowa State and Houston.
Yeah.
At this point.
Able to win both of those.
That's right.
So you've also been able to call some of the best Auburn basketball seasons, how does this team compare to the 2018 and the 2020 teams that also won the regular season? That Final Four team was Rod's last team calling at Auburn basketball, and that team went on an unbelievable roll at the end of the game. You'll recall they lost big at Kentucky, and then they didn't lose again until the Final Four against Virginia.
Right.
And they had great senior leadership in Bryce Brown and Jared Harper, and they could shoot from the outside, and they were good. I mean, they were good everywhere. In 2022, when Auburn won an SEC regular season championship, you had Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler, and Jabari could do anything, and he was just a freshman, and Walker was a sophomore. I don't that was a really good Auburn team. That team was also the only other Auburn team that's been ranked number 1. But it did not have the overall game I think that this team does. This team can beat you in more ways than just Janai Broome. And we've seen that. Miles Kelly with 30 at Kentucky. We've seen games that Tahad Pettiford led Auburn in scoring. We've seen games where it's been Denver Jones or Chad Baker-Mazara or Chaney Johnson coming off the bench leading Auburn. I like the way that this team is structured right now. Get everybody healthy. Keep everybody in the game. We saw how important that is on Saturday. Right. And I like the way that this team is, in spite of the fact that it takes 2 losses into the SEC tournament. I think this team can beat you in a number of ways. And when it comes to the NCAA tournament, you have to do that. It can't I just don't think it can be just one guy in the NCAA tournament.
Well, Andy, before we let you go, one more thing I want to talk about the structure of this team. You just talked about Miles Kelly. You just talked about Janai Broome and Denver Jones and Chad Baker-Mazara. They're all transfer portal guys. And there's a lot about college athletics all of us don't like right now. I think we can all agree with that. You and I come from an era of, the purest of college sports. And, we like to go out and get guys that love Auburn and play for Auburn and grow up pulling for Auburn. We know times are different. Kids are different now. But the portal has allowed Auburn basketball to become a national power. And let's just be honest. I mean, you can embrace change or you can be resistant to change. And Bruce Pearl has embraced change, and it's been a difference maker for Auburn basketball.
Well, Janai Broome will end up being one of Auburn's greatest basketball players ever. And he's a transfer portal guy. Miles Kelly comes in after a really good career at Georgia Tech, and he wins his first ever championship in college at Auburn. Is Auburn where it is right now without what Denver Jones has done the last 2 years? Is Auburn where it is right now without what Chaney Johnson has done the last 2 years? Or Chad Baker-Mazara?
I left Chaney out, yes.
So, listen, whether you like it or not, if you don't embrace it, you're left behind. And Auburn has embraced it. Did it hurt to lose Trey Donaldson and Aiden Holloway after last year? Sure it did. I like what Tahad Pettiford's done as a true freshman at point guard, though, for Auburn.
No doubt.
And what Denver Jones has done as Auburn's starting point guard this season. I wish those guys the best. They've had 2 really good years. Those guys are going to the NCAA tournament. Trey at Michigan and Aiden at Alabama. Alabama's probably going to be a number 1 seed again. So if you don't embrace it at this point, whether you like it or not, you're falling behind. You have to embrace it. You have to embrace the NIL piece as well. If you don't, this Auburn team isn't the number 1 overall seed going into the NCAA tournament at this point.
Well, Andy, we really appreciate you, brother. We know you don't have anything left going on today. You could be on here for hours. You could just stay on with us for hours. You have nowhere to go, nothing to do. So
this is my first of 5 interviews that I will do before noon today. And the next 4, I'm the one asking the questions.
Well, sometimes it's good to be asked the questions.
That's right. I like it.
Hey, Andy, have a good week.
My pleasure.
And have fun in Nashville, and looking forward to a long run here in March with this basketball team.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys. War Eagle.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate you so much. Andy Burcham there with Auburn. I tell you, Andy does a great job on the call for Auburn football, basketball, baseball, everything else that he's part of. Really appreciate Andy being on the show with us this morning. And again, very busy schedule for him and taking some time out to get started with us this morning.
5 interviews.
There you go. 5 interviews, but somebody's got to do it. And if you're the voice of the Auburn Tigers, you have to do those kind of things. So, great stuff. I didn't expect anything other than what he said. And, you and I can dive in. Hopefully Jason will be able to join us. Run into a little bit of a snafu this morning. He texted me, if he can make it, he will. If not, we'll bump him tomorrow or somewhere. So we just hope he gets everything kind of straightened out. John, I don't know how long we're going to be on this morning. It just depends on when Faith wants to go to the beach. I'm on her schedule. Andy and I had to adjust what we were doing. That's the first thing Andy said is like, All right, so is this going to cut into Faith's beach time? We'll go ahead and get started earlier if she needs. No, I'm just kidding. But we're probably going to be on, our normal time till about somewhere a little bit before 9-ish. So because we got a ton to talk about this morning, I want to kind of go back and recap some of what Andy talked about and some of the things that Faith and I both asked him and kind of get your thoughts on there. So we got a lot of comments. John has filled us up here. John, I won't read everything you say, so don't hold that against me. You said Calipari sure used to get out of the SEC tournament as fast as he could get Kentucky out of it back in the day. There's positives and negatives to that. We're going to get to some more of these comments here in just a second. I do want to hit our sponsors because they make this show possible. Sensa Green, for air that's cool and clean, call on Sensa Green. They are the carrier experts. They are proud supporters of Auburn Athletics and the Auburn Blitz podcast. Scout Program Management, a full-service construction management firm located in Birmingham, Alabama, working on all types of projects right now here in the state with new schools, renovations, all types of things. So if you're a school system out there or you work with a school system and you're trying to plan the build of a new school or you're trying to renovate, Scout Program Management's who you call on. They're the best in the business. Give them a call. Great guys. And then Bunkers. Faith and I were at Bunkers Friday, and she was her smile was bigger than it's ever, even bigger than it is right now while at the beach when they brought out the steak sliders for us. But had Malcolm Simmons there, had Jason Caldwell with us. Had a great time at Bunkers on West Glen. I think they had another good crowd yesterday. Or Saturday, rather, for the games, which is great. So we're glad to be partnered with them, and we're going to be doing a lot more stuff with Bunkers. You and I will be there, Faith, during football season. Excited about that, and a lot more to come. And we want to thank Joey at Bunkers for that great food that he prepared and brought out for us. So we'll hit some more of our sponsors here in just a little bit. But yeah, Faith, you had a good time, didn't you?
I did. It was so much fun.
Justin,
the food was so good.
Justin said, hope the weather is nice at the beach page.
Thanks, Justin.
I'm just we've got I don't even really know what to say.
It happens.
Yeah, it is. It is what it is. So we roll. No. Justin he and I and several of us have like a little inside joke on some of that stuff. So it's amazing. But yeah, names are important though. Names are important. I will say that. So they're definitely important to the person that's named that. So and I'll leave it at that. So John said we might all get ready to just embrace the portal. It ain't going anywhere. You're right. Look, it's made Auburn's basketball program what it is the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, if you're not able to go out and look, Auburn's going to have to go and get a lot of new guys this year. Now, I know we have the potential of getting some guys back, and you and I are about to dive into this Alabama game because I'm still disgusted about it.
I thought we were going to catch a break with having Andy and Jason on where we wouldn't really have to touch on it too much.
But we're going to. We're going to. So everybody take your seatbelt and buckle it up because I'm going to have to let some of my angst out. And Faith, once again, the text, I've known her long enough now to know when to shut it down on texting. And so she was pissed off like I was, and I think all of you were. With just some of the things that went on in the game. But going back to what we were talking about with the portal, if it's not for the portal, let's just be honest, Auburn basketball is not where it is right now. And you look back, and what I sent over to you last night is pretty astonishing when you look at what Auburn and Alabama has done in the last several years. Going back, Auburn and Alabama have combined to win 5 of the last 8 SEC regular season titles and 4 of the last 6 SEC tournaments. This is a conference that has been dominated by Kentucky. And every once in a while, a Florida or an Alabama over time has been able to rise up. but historically it's always Kentucky carrying the banner for the SEC. Well, look at this. I mean, 5 of the last 8 regular season titles, 4 of the last 6 SEC tournaments. That's Auburn and Alabama combined. That's not Kentucky. That if you said X has won this, you would have probably naturally put Kentucky in the past because that looks like something Kentucky would have done by itself. But Auburn, 3 regular season championships, 2018, 2022, and 2025. 2 tournament championships in 19 and 24. So Auburn's done this all in different years. Now, Alabama's won 2 regular season and 2 tournament, but they've won them in both years, the same year. They won the regular season and the tournament in 21 and the regular season and the tournament in 23. Not diminishing it. They've just been able to do the double doozy like Andy Burcham just said. You know, they've been able to win both in the same season. Auburn's mixed it up. Regular season champs in 18, tournament champs in 19. Regular season champs in 22, tournament champs in 24. Regular season champs in 25. Can we get a tournament championship? Can we get a tournament championship this year? I'd love to. Is it the end of the world, Paige? Faith, if we don't, is it the end of the world if we don't get a SEC tournament championship? No. That's not what's important. I heard what Andy was saying, and yeah, you got plenty of time to kind of get rested up, but that's not the priority here. We want to get into March, and we want to make it to San Antonio. That's the important part.
Yeah, I agree. Isn't it like so rare though for the number 1 team to win the overall tournament though? Like sometimes I feel like that's just like going to be a curse for us.
For the number 1 team to win the entire tournament? Mm-hmm. I mean, look, it's hard to win a championship in basketball.
I think I'm just making excuses because I'm just mad.
Well, I mean, we're mad. Why don't we just dive into that since that's where we're drifting anyway? It's kind of like Tokyo Drift. The back end of the car is drifting that way. So let's just go ahead and go with it instead of fight it. A couple things real quick. Kyle said it's been a rough week for Auburn following one of the greatest weeks. Baseball, they ended up winning yesterday. Softball lost the series with Mississippi State, which, I mean, again, you know what's coming in this conference. I mean, it's in every sport. So, yeah, you want to build up and do as good as you can before you get in conference play, but conference play is a different animal in every sport, okay? Justin said, who would be on this team without the portal? Holloway, Westry, Johan Traore, and Donaldson. Yes. I wouldn't trade any of the guys we have for any of those guys. Now, I do really like Trey Donaldson. He's one of my favorites. Thought he was a gamer. He's having a great season for Michigan.
I just didn't think he fit in with the offense as well as he does at Michigan.
No, you're right.
Obviously, I think he's a great player and stuff. I don't think at Auburn he was going to be able to succeed the way he is at Michigan right now. But yeah, I agree with Tahad Pettiford being an
upgrade.
Yeah,
an upgrade.
Yeah, and him coming off the bench and
Chance Westry never did really play because he got hurt.
Right.
And Johan Traore, I don't know how he achieved the ranking he was a high. I mean, again, not to bash anybody, but I mean, he never panned out. Does anybody know where Johan Traore is right now? I don't. It's not because I've been trying to keep up with him, but usually if you're pretty good, you even if you're not following somebody, oh yeah, he's over there. I don't know where he is, and so if somebody wants to enlighten us and tell us where Johan Traore is, you can. Justin said, "Come on, Faith. Believe. What's a disappointment in the tourney? I'd say anything less than an Elite Eight. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think anything less than the Elite Eight. And yeah, Glenn, the number 1 overall seed gets the easiest route to the Final Four. But like, I feel like I was looking it up. I think Reese was giving me a hard time about it because we've been number 1, and he's been saying, "Oh, do you know how hard it is? Do you know how hard?" And so I think I've just been listening to that nonsense.
Quit listening to Ole Miss.
I know.
The
and then then he was like, "You know who y'all are gonna play if
in the SEC tournament?"
Yeah, and I was
tell them they need to get worried about getting past. Is it South Carolina or Arkansas?
One of the two.
So
Whoever,
and
I told him, I said, I just talked a whole lot of smack to him yesterday about that. So I really need Auburn to pull through against Ole Miss because.
Well, Ole Miss ain't made it to Friday yet, so they need to kind of check themselves. Arkansas. Now, how embarrassing would it be for them to lose to South Carolina in round 2?
I would eat that up.
I know it. You would be obnoxious, and I would let you be obnoxious on that. So I would have no problem with that.
Are you kidding me?
So Auburn is slated to play Friday at noon against somebody, either Ole Miss, Arkansas, South Carolina. I don't really care who it is. If they move on to Saturday at noon, it would be more than likely Tennessee, but don't sleep on Texas A&M. And Lord help, I mean, they'll play the winner of Texas Vanderbilt, and then the winner, if let's just say Vanderbilt moves on. Vanderbilt and Texas A&M would play, and then the winner of that game would play Tennessee. And if Texas A&M can beat Tennessee, obviously they can, and it would be us and Texas A&M sitting there on Saturday at noon. I don't like that at all. I mean, but get another shot at them. At this point, who cares? I mean, this is house money. Nothing's going to change as far as your seeding. So let Texas A&M roll it out there one more time, see if we can get them back. You know, that would be nice, and that would put us in the championship game against more than likely Florida, and that would be a rematch of last year. And look, at this point, I've said it for a month. I don't want to play them again. Why not? Just play them again, man. Play them up there. We beat them up there last year. Play them again, and if you can beat that team this time with the way they're playing, maybe that is a shot in the arm that you need confidence. Not that this team needs any confidence, but just saying what a huge win that would be heading into March. And you just knocked off Florida, who everybody right now, including me, is proclaiming maybe the best team in the league right now, or at least playing the best. So you kind of reestablish yourself as the king of the mountain. If you go win the tournament and you go play Florida and knock them off, and you're the regular season champs, you're undisputed at that time. You're undisputed as the best team in this league, and everybody else can put to bed, oh, well, Florida's playing better, and, you know, what about this? You know, it's a no-brainer at that point when you get it done on the floor.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And yeah, for so long we've been saying that we don't want to play them again, but I mean, if we have to, we're going to have to.
Nothing to lose now.
Yeah.
Play them. My whole mentality's changed now that we clinched the SEC regular season championship, and we've kind of petered out here over the last week with Texas A&M and Alabama, which we're about to dive into here in just a second. I mean, who cares? At this point, go play whoever, and if you get beat, go on back home and get ready to play in the NCAA tournament. So Glenn said play Bama. I'm fine with playing both of them. You know, play Bama again or play at Florida. I don't care. Pick your poison. You know, we'll line up and play you wherever. And, again, they had a buzzer beater, tip of the hat. You know, Mark Sears, I thought Auburn had played outstanding defense on him all night, all afternoon, and he had the ball in his hand, which what you want as a smart coach and team is to get the ball, design a play, to get the ball into the hands of your best player, and that's what Alabama did. So we didn't defend it well. We let him get to the left where his strength is, and he made us pay. And so, you know, overall, It was a very, very below average game for him. He only had 9 points. He couldn't get a shot off. I mean, he couldn't really even get he couldn't get downhill. He couldn't get a shot off outside the perimeter. He only shot 4 times outside and made 1. But hey, look, Grant Nelson went off, had 23, but LeBaron Philon had 15. And that was the guy that started to bring them back in Tuscaloosa, but we were able to withstand the little run that Alabama went on. But LeBaron Philon's the guy, to me, the straw that was stirring the drink for them, even though Grant Nelson was going off. LeBaron Philon played the same amount of minutes that Grant Nelson played, Faith. They both played 35 minutes in the game. But he had a crucial 15 points for Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, you already know how I feel about Grant Nelson, and my pure love I have for him, obviously.
Yeah. A lot of sarcasm in that, by the way.
Yeah, if anyone can't tell. But yeah, I mean, I think Philon, he was also somebody that every time – so, okay, I was driving down to the beach, everybody, and Reese was playing it on his computer. And so
another road trip, by the way.
Yeah, I was just listening to it. I was unable to watch a lot of what was going on. And with that being said, it was probably the best because I was so annoyed with what was going on. And so listening was probably the best bet for me, along with, some commentation from Reese. And when he got really, really quiet, he knew his life was going to be in danger because I was holding the steering wheel driving. And something bad for Auburn was happening. And every time I feel like I heard that Philon had the ball, I was just clenching the steering wheel. I was like, something's like he's about to score. Something's about to happen. Because it was just, and normally it's Mark Sears that every single time it's like, oh, but it's like he went 3 for 9 for 2-point shots. And then he went 1 for 4 for 3-point shots. And again, he had 9 points, and it doesn't matter about how many points he scored. It only matters about how he won the game for them. That's all that's like,
he made the shot to win the game. That's exactly.
That's
he had the ball in his hand.
It doesn't matter about the ones that he missed. But again, I don't think our defense was good enough to shut everybody down. Not like obviously Mark Sears got shut down, but like that didn't matter. That wasn't the only person that we were talking about leading up to the game that we were worried about and that we needed to take care of on defense.
Do you remember what you said last week? I'm going to put you to the test here. Do you remember what you said about Nate Oates in the post-game press conference talking about getting downhill and getting in
the paint?
Yep.
What did they do?
That's what they did.
Yeah. And
what they did.
Yeah, they shot for 52%.
Right.
And
well, they didn't fire up. Auburn outshot them from outside. They were a lot more modest with their 3-point shots. They only shot it 22 times. But they made it a priority to get downhill and bang around inside and try to get points at the rim, and it worked.
It worked for them.
But
and they've got the length. They've got the big boys that it's able, like they're able to do it. And again, same thing every single time I heard Grant Nelson from anybody's mouth, I almost lost my mind. I don't even want to talk about it right now. I'm going to lose my mind.
He had not played well, let's be honest.
Since the Auburn game, Andy was right. Since the Auburn game, he's been on a – and then, of course, now he has to come back. And, I mean –
well, this is the version of Grant Nelson we saw last year that helped Alabama make a run to the Final Four.
He shot from inside 15 times.
Yeah, he was 8 of 15 total.
And then from 3 points – from the 3-point line, he shot 3 for 6.
He's 50% from outside. Yeah. So he was getting it done, inside and outside. Again, when you're playing well, let's talk about several other elements of this game. All right, there's a lot of things. So Janai Broome, first of all, had 34 points. He only had 8 rebounds. But man, hard to say anything negative about that guy. I mean, he He carried Auburn in this game, and if it's not for him and Tahad Pettiford, man, Auburn probably gets dusted in this game. Let's be honest. That, Miles Kelly added 13, but Miles Kelly, if my memory serves me correct, had 0 points at half. I think him and Denver Jones combined for 2 points in the first half. Denver had 9 and Miles had 13. So everything they did came in the second half. Chaney Johnson got in foul trouble again. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. This is a chronic problem for him. He only played 15 minutes, and he's not any good sitting on the bench for Auburn. And so he's got to figure this out heading into tournament play, because teams are going to attack him, and he's got to quit slapping at the ball. He's got to quit fouling 30, 40 feet from the basket. He's got to play smarter on defense, or else he's going to ride the pine, and that's going to kill Auburn. Again, if you look at the minutes played, Todd Pettiford, 34. Denver and Miles, 38 and 36. Janai, 43. Dylan, 31. Chad Baker's a whole nother story. I'll get to that. But outside of that, our guys were exhausted. And Tahad turned the ball over in overtime, probably because he was worn out. And I'm not giving him an excuse, but I'm not beating that kid up either. He hits one clutch shot after another. And when you're kind of time to take a step back like he was on that play and gather himself, LeBaron Philon's good enough to kind of take a chance right there to swipe the ball from me, and he did it. And it ended up on an uncontested layup to the other side, which gave them the lead, which was not only gave them a 1-point lead, but it swung the momentum back to Alabama. Like in overtime, when you get the upper hand there, you feel like you still a possession. It's more monumental than it would be in regulation. So,
Also, I because I was listening to the game, not watching it, the announcers were saying that he was just lazy with his dribble and all that kind of stuff too. And he's a freshman playing 34 minutes. Like, again,
well,
I don't know if I'm making an excuse for him, but like, seriously, I think he had such a great game that I know he had to have been exhausted and in those moments.
He was backing up to the timeline to try to figure out how he was going to run that play.
Yeah.
And LeBaron Philon made a play. Like sometimes announcers, and look, I'm an announcer. I've been doing it for 25 years. Sometimes we say stupid shit that just because you think as you're analyzing it, you go, oh, okay, well, he was lazy with his dribble. Have you gone out and played 34 minutes?
Yeah.
Do you know what's going through his mind? Like sometimes it's okay just to give credit to the guy that made a play. And LeBaron Philon,
was that real?
What?
Was he really being lazy? I was like,
he's not being lazy.
I can't see Tahad Pettiford being lazy.
He's not being lazy.
Right?
I mean, he's tired. He's tired, but he's backing up.
He's trying to see what's going on.
He's trying to size up the defense. And LeBaron Philon's an outstanding player. To me, he's probably the best pro potential on Alabama's team. Okay? That's how good he is. Auburn, he was committed to Auburn. I watched him play in high school at Baker. He was great. I watched him play Benjamin Russell, and I think he had 48 points in that game. And they lost Ben Russell lost that game by 2. Okay. He was Baker that year. And so that there's some the kid's good. He made some plays. Tip your hat. And that's what he did. Auburn still had a chance to win the game. Auburn still had its chances. And free throws, like Justin said. I mean, that's terrible. And that's going to beat you in March. When you shoot 11 of 17 and you lose in overtime by 2 points. Now, Alabama can say the same thing. They were 16 of 24. So they missed 8 shots. We were a little bit better percentage-wise. Actually, a little bit better on the miss. We didn't attempt as many. But, they missed 8. We missed 6. So, yeah, both teams have an argument there. But At home, you got to make your free throws, Faith. You have to make your free throws at home.
Especially if you're going up for player of the year.
I mean, it hurts. I mean, Tahad missed 2 there on a foul 3. Remember that?
Yeah, I know,
so
but
he missed 2, and then Janai missed 3. He was 2 of 5 shooting, and so.
But Janai, I feel like just always misses.
Janai's free throw shooting has not been what it needs to be. I mean, let's be honest about it.
It's every single whoever our opponent, their best player is, and their percentages come up and whatever. It's always all of his other percentages are so much higher, and then it's his free throws, and it's significantly lower.
Right.
And again, if you're going up for player of the year.
Well, if you're going for player of the year, you need to have every possible stat column the best it possibly can be. Look, I still think he is. He had a little stretch there, but I think if you go back and look at the podcast from last week, I think I said unless he has like a 34 to 38 point game, that I think Cooper Flagg has it locked up. But guess what Janai Broome did? He came back and had a 34-point game. So I definitely think he is in the mix again. I think he's in the talk. Will the Duke bias win out? Probably. It probably will because the media has a love for Duke. I'll be nice. I could have said something else. But they have a love for Duke, and they have that natural bias because they historically are the golden child basketball team, and they want Duke to be good. They want at least Duke or North Carolina to be good. They want Kansas to be good. They want somebody like that to be in the mix. Auburn is a newbie when it comes to a program that's at the top of the heap here in college basketball. Although you can see what they've done since 2017, 2018, they still don't have the history behind them. And so a lot of the media will side with Duke. And so they're looking at Cooper Flagg stats, period, not really who they played against. Now, does Cooper Flagg put those numbers up against SEC teams? I think he probably is comparable, but I don't think he has the numbers that he has right now if he's playing the schedule that Auburn's played. So but we'll never know that. That's all speculation all the way around. So let's get to another point in this game. All right, a couple more questions or comments. If that's the last game that whole TV crew calls in Neville Warm, yeah, Carl Ravitch he's also got a lot of love. I'll say that nicely for Alabama. He just enamored by Alabama for whatever reason. Go back to Houston 2 years ago in the tourney. Janai's free throw shooting lost that game. Hate it, but it did. Yep. Remember it clearly. That's the next part of this is what I wanted to shift to, what Justin and Glenn are talking about here. CBM's selfish decisions cost us our last 2 tourney exits. Hope it didn't happen this year. CBM bullseye is very big going forward, Glenn. Okay, that's where I want to go. Same old stuff, man. Same old stuff. You know, after I got on here and bragged that I thought he had turned the corner and, you know, embracing and knowing that teams are attacking him and targeting him, you know, I thought he had turned I turned over a new leaf and was approaching it differently and saying, look, I'm just going to laugh this off and I'm going to play through it. But he let the emotion of everything Saturday build to a point where he couldn't take it anymore and he had to take another cheap shot. And I mean, you know, when you do it, you're gone because they're going to go review it and they're going to go see that you intentionally elbowed somebody in the back of the head and that you're out. And at that point, you're not thinking about the team. You're not thinking about the bigger picture. You're thinking about you versus that guy in that moment, and you're not worried about the consequences. And it sucks. And I hate to be that way. And he's a great player. But this just continues to be, I mean, how many opportunities do you need to prove yourself? How many do you need?
I don't know. But I think it's just so frustrating because, yes, like, again, I'm with you when it comes to it. It's always, not always, but it's becoming such a big factor, and it's becoming a worry about how he's going to do something, or we're waiting for the other shoe to drop with him, because right when we think he's packed it all up and he's put it away and he knows that, it's just a compliment that people are trying to get underneath his skin, because that says the good player that he is. And I like Chad. We've had class together. I think he's really nice, whatever. That is a selfish, but also such a hot-headed decision that you're obviously not thinking about what impact that's going to be with how much they go back to the monitor in all these games recently. You have to imagine that they're going to go back there. And there's no excuse to say, oh, he was just doing this. Oh, he was just doing that. There's no excuse in any of that, because that was it was blatant that was what he was trying to do with both of those elbows.
Well, look, here's the deal. He played 15 minutes in the game. Actually, did he play 15 or 18? He played 18 minutes. Played 18 minutes in the game. He was playing pretty well. Had 7 points. But Auburn needed his play on the floor, and they needed his depth. And he would have been a difference maker, I think. I think he is you're playing without one of your better players. And again, if you add another 6 to 8 points that he's probably going to score in that game, Auburn wins this game in regulation and they win it comfortably. But that's all hearsay at this point, because he's in the locker room and he's on the phone interacting with fans during the game, which is
fans,
also
Brett, not fans.
Well, people of the other side, that are taking shots at him, but he feels like he's got to get on.
That's the thing, though,
social media.
You know that there's people coming out after you. Why?
Right.
That's
you're just getting baited.
You're
just taking the bait. You're just taking the bait. That's what you're doing. But it is. I mean, so look, it's what all Auburn fans sit on the edge of their seat. And Andy said it in a nice way earlier. He's like, and keep everybody in the game. But we've seen this song and dance way too many times. And, all right, it's a new season. Everybody's 0-0 at this point. And losses now are magnified. You lose in the SEC tournament, you're out. You lose in the NCAA tournament, you're out. There is no tomorrow after a loss. Okay? So can he keep his mind right for the next 3 to 4 weeks is the question. To make a run in March and get to the Final Four and not do something that possibly cost Auburn a game like it did in the Yale game last year. And again, Auburn had many chances to win that Yale game without him. It wasn't all on him, but the mood of the team and the mood of the game changed when he went out. Now, Aiden Holloway had one of the worst performances that you could have in that game. He missed layup after layup. He couldn't throw it in the ocean from the beach where you're sitting at, Faith. I mean, he had a horrible game. So pass the blame around. Auburn had many opportunities to knock Yale off without Chad Baker-Mazar and still should have been able to win that game. But when he went out the way he did, it changed the mood of the team. And it gave Yale some momentum, and they were able to ride that momentum to a win. Absolutely.
And Glenn, I was going to touch on that too, him possibly coming back next year. It's almost like there's so many people literally just living in fear when he's on the court, like waiting for something to happen. And that's not fair to anybody, because the other thing is too is, you know, Miles Kelly had 4 fouls, and so did Cheney, and Dylan had 3. And so when they're getting their fouls up so high that they either have to sit down or something like that, and Chad is one of those guys that we can't have him out because of a not even a mistake, but an action like that, when we obviously are going to have to go and sit a few of our people because they're in foul trouble. It's just not fair to his teammates. It's not fair to the fans, because he's actively making these decisions over and over again.
Right.
Because it's not just once that this has happened. It's more than once, and he's actively choosing to make that. It's not an accident.
I don't know how it's what else or how else we can say anything else about
And
CBM. I mean, seriously.
When you go and you watch Grant Nelson do the crane looking right at the ref.
Well, I was going to say that, and you know, I'm going to call a name out on here because he needles people to the point where you're like, he's a guy that you go, he wants to call everybody else out for being unprofessional, but then he tweets out stuff and says things about people and tries to. He's the little guy that tries to get under your skin. And who I'm talking about is Brian Passing for Alabama's radio. As he tweets out yesterday that he's got a shot of Andy and calling the end, and he says Auburn radio not a fan of the Crimson Crane apparently, but it's Cal College little hits, and I mean, dude, you're supposed to be a radio broadcaster, but he can't help himself, and he wants to act like he's all above board and professional and everything, but he takes more shots and has more underhanded comments than about anybody that you want to see from when it comes to a radio announcer or somebody that's supposed to be a professional. So, but anyway, kind of got that out. Not surprised about what you expect, and I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, I mean, I thought toning was a foul. I thought it was a technical. And look, Grant Nelson made a great play. I mean, he got over the top of Dylan and made a great play, but let's just be honest. Anytime, he had 2 referees looking at him when he did that, and absolutely neither one of them did a thing. I mean, when they went back to the monitor, I thought, well, they're going to see that they were looking whether Dylan Caldwell hit him in the head intentionally to see if it was a flagrant trying to block the shot. Now, and of course they ruled it wasn't, but let's not look at and it doesn't matter really in the scheme of things. I don't care that Ichabod Crane did that. I don't care. I really don't. And kudos to him. He had a great game. So tip of the hat. If you want to do the crane, that's fine. If Auburn beats them again, guess what they're going to do? They're going to do the crane. This thing's kind of started as a back and forth little deal, and it's fine. But if the officials just do what the hell they're supposed to do, and then maybe you shut a little bit of that stuff down. So, I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, do the crane if that's what you want to do, but know that there's consequences to it, and the referee should have called it.
When they get into the tournament and they've got different refs that aren't the SEC refs.
John, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about a play-by-play or a color guy on radio trying to take shots like he does. It has nothing to do with the play on the floor. And did I defend what CBM said?
No.
Or did John? No, I didn't. So kind of get that straight, okay, buddy?
But Justin's right. He represents the university well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Did Brian Passett come out and say anything about that? I mean, I'm sure he's a fan of that. That's fine. But then they want to show as again, celebrate. You won. Alabama's team rushes over in front of the jungle, and you're going to get some towels and stuff thrown at you. That's what happened. I mean, they threw beer at our guys. Stuff exploded in front on the floor. It's going to – that's what this thing becomes when there's high intensity. But, again, you can say things about Bruce Pearl doing the crane. You can do whatever. After the game, in the game, after a made basket, that's a technical foul. I don't care what team it is. If Auburn would have done it, it would have been a technical foul or should have been a technical foul. Alabama did it. They didn't call it. So it's not like they didn't see him do it too.
There's literally a picture
of
him looking right at the official.
Right. So, like Glenn said, ref was looking right at him. So
yes.
I'm not saying – not one part of this conversation has said that's to blame for losing the game.
No.
We didn't say that. All we're saying is that sometimes officials just need to call the dadgum game the way it's supposed to be called. So, and that's just it. Ed said,
do you think that if CBM's ejection affected the outcome of the game?
Well, yeah, I'm not defending it. He probably should have been ejected from the game.
Right, but if he did, if that didn't happen, if he didn't elbow somebody twice in the back,
I think having him down the stretch absolutely affects this game. I think it absolutely makes a difference if he adds 6 to 8 more points. I mean, Auburn probably wins the game by 5 to 7 points, and then never goes to overtime. So, I mean, we had the ball with a shot to win it anyway before overtime, and we didn't make it. So, it is what it is. Ed said, this is the bottom line about CBM. BP and staff believe Chad is more a proponent. Hold on, my comments moved down. A proponent versus a liability. So if he costs us a game in the tournament, fire Bruce for playing him after Chad does it. They are going to play CBM, period. So, yep, that's part of it. All right, Luke said when Auburn does kickbox thing with the thumbs down after a block shot, should that be a tech? It is not toning. I mean, is it not toning? I guess you could throw that in there, Luke. But maybe a definition of toning needs to be defined. So, good point. I'm not going to argue with you on that. But it's clearly in the heat of the moment when you make and again, there was some talking too, obviously, back and forth right there. And the officials just decided to let it go away. And so, I guess you could needle everything and figure out that every little thing could be a tech, Luke. But I think that was pretty blatant and pretty deliberate. So, after the game, the crane thing, whatever, it's become a deal between both teams, and I think you could start needling this thing down to where every time somebody makes a motion, but that was a pretty blatant deal. That was in front of somebody in his face. I think the block shot thing, when they look to the crowd and do it, but when toning is
to another
face to face, that's the definition of the rule. So, again, I didn't want to make this about that because it really didn't have an impact on the game. I'm just saying the officials need to call it. That's what they need to do.
All season, though. That's the other thing is we've been saying that all season.
And I think, again, CBM has put a target on his back with his history. And so you're going to be watching somebody already that does things. And when you do it, and they're going to go to the monitor and look at it, you know what the results are going to be. Again, you have to be a bigger person than that. You have to think of the outcome of how it's going to affect your teammates in the game, period. So, I don't know, Luke. You tell me, would you classify the crane kick in somebody's face as a taunt? If somebody did it to you on the floor? Now, if somebody does the box thing in front of somebody with the thumbs down in somebody's face, I'm going to say that's a taunt. Now, if you block the shot and you look at the crowd and do it, I mean, if you crane kick toward the crowd, that's fine. If they want to allow that kind of stuff to happen. But when you get in somebody's face and you do it, that's what the definition of taunting is. Again, at least that's what I've always known. But again, that's not what this whole conversation's about. This conversation's about CBM not doing what he needed to do again, and will it have an impact on March? And we'll see. We hopefully, again, he'll be reeled in enough. And again, I think Bruce Pearl's trying to figure out how to manage a guy, and I don't think he defended him at all. I think he handled that about as well as you could handle it. And everybody knows that this has kind of been a pattern over time. So, you can't make somebody but not be who at this point in time, Faith, you kind of are who you are at this age in your life. So,
yeah. And
you're not going to change.
Yep.
That's what I just said, Luke. I said he's 25. I didn't say he's 25. You said it, but he ain't going to learn. When you get past a certain age in your life, you are who you are. It doesn't matter what somebody tells you or how many times they say it. You just kind of have to live with it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think Auburn's trying to figure out the best way to manage all of that. So,
well, and he's saying that he thinks the box thing is taunting. It's cockiness being allowed. Okay, so what about when they hold the phone up and they do that?
Yeah, I mean,
is that also taunting? I'm confused.
Well, I mean, again, you can make all of these things that anybody does after a play.
It's all cockiness. What do you expect? It's college basketball.
But you got to.
But when you're deliberately doing it in the face of somebody,
I think that's where the definition comes in. If you're doing the call thing or you're doing the 3 thing like this or whatever, like who was it that got called for a technical in a game when they turned and looked at the bench and
Chad
said
did. He was holding his jersey.
Right, yeah. Deservingly.
Exactly.
When you deliberately taunt a group, the bench or somebody.
Go again saying Chad. Chad does this. Chad does it.
Well, that is what it is. But Ed said, you're right, Brett. Credit Oates for having Youngblood target CBM. Remember, Youngblood was the one that ran CBM into the first row. I mean, look, it was planned.
But then he's getting pushed by the crowd over there.
It's orchestrated. Again, and they're not going to be the only team that does it because it's part of the game. I just think that, that going in, and can you control yourself enough? You cannot let somebody else, you can't control what somebody else does. They got to have it inside of them. So, look, Luke, you're going to see stuff through Alabama glasses, and I guess we're going to see things through Auburn glasses, but I don't know where the line is. It's where the official decides they want to allow the line to be.
But it can't be official to official. I feel like there has to be some sort of set standard of what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Did you just hear what I said? I just said at this age or whatever age, you are who you are. I didn't necessarily put 25, but I think by the time you're 18, 19, 20, you are who you are in life, unless you have some life-altering thing that happens in your life that changes your personality. You're going to be who you are. We all played basketball, Luke. We played. Some guys have a hotter head than others, and it didn't change. They can't just stop being who they are when they go on the floor. Hey, I know a guy that's one of the nicest guys in the world, but when you put him on a basketball floor, he becomes the biggest punk in the world. And it's just something in him when it comes to competition. So I agreed with you. I said that CBM has earned the target. They're going to be looking at him more. Not one part of anything I've said is argued with that. So And I don't think it has anything to do with controlling yourself against an 18-year-old or another 25-year-old. It's just who you are. Guess what? When he's 31, he's going to be the same guy. You know, the same with guys on y'all's team. You know, everybody has a different personality. And I'm calling him out. You know, and again, if you guys had somebody on your team that was doing that or had something going on, I would expect y'all to call them out too, to see it objectively. I think you can say I've been pretty damn objective on this. I don't have orange and blue glasses on it, so I've kept it pretty real. So that being said, it was the second round of the Iron Bowl, and we split. And Alabama needed the win because they'd lost 2 in a row, and it may have helped them kind of inch their way back up to the number 1 line in the tournament. We'll see. We'll see if it was good enough. But now bigger and better things, the tournament. How does Auburn approach this? And there's a chance Auburn could play Alabama again. I kind of hope they do.
I'm here for it.
I mean, why not, right? Either them or Florida. If Auburn's able to make it to the championship game, it'll probably be one of those 2 teams, I would think. I know Kentucky's down there, but I don't think they're gonna make a run. And then, more importantly, focusing on what you're gonna do in the NCAA tournament. So, all right. So I'll let you guys go back and forth on the chatter there. I'll say this: both sides do things. I'm pretty objective on saying things on our behalf. Again, I brought up a guy that makes comments and says things, and for the Alabama side, the FU stuff and all that kind of stuff that goes on, I don't see many of y'all coming out and condoning that. So, is what it is. To each his own on that. So, all right. Luke said, I was shocked at the passion. Brett and I spoke Saturday morning. We noted the 2 coaches downplayed the game, then get out on the court. It was mayhem, much better than Duke. No, 100%. 100%. You know, Luke and I talked about that for 2 hours. I mean, both coaches really did kind of play the game down. And in the scheme of things, there wasn't much on the line. Maybe a little bit more for Alabama, but Auburn had already pretty much had put all the hay in the barn for them. Yeah, you want to end on a high note, but the loss didn't affect anything as far as seeding for them. So just shows you that when those 2 teams get on the floor, you can do all the downplaying you want. Both teams want to win the game. And I think both – that's what makes this, like Glenn said, the best rivalry. And you and I even talked about it, Faith. A lot of players for Alabama and Auburn, I mean, they didn't grow up Auburn fans or Alabama fans because of the portal and the different things, but they still feel the rivalry. The schools still make it what it is, and they get in the moment, and they want to win. And that's what matters.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just reading.
Well, I'm glad Luke said that because I didn't bring it up, but you know, and look, we're all humans and we get caught up in the moment. Bruce has done the crane. Nate Oates goes over with the team and he's flailing his arms up in the air, you know, enticing the Auburn students to throw stuff or whatever, or to react. I'll say that, maybe not throw, but they're going to throw stuff. You know, just if Auburn players did that in front of Alabama student section, I think you should just expect it, right? Let's not be stupid. They're not just going to sit there and let you, you know, celebrate in front of them and tone them without firing something back. So as a coach, don't run over there and do that either. You know, don't be part of that. And he got his little deal in. But again, I understand to a point that it's an emotional deal. And anybody that ever played sports understands that you can get caught up in the moment, maybe do some things that you're not so proud of. So we can sit here and go back and forth on that all. For the most part, it was a clean game. It was a really well-played game on both sides. We lost in overtime to a very good basketball team. We beat them a few weeks ago in Tuscaloosa. It is what it is. So you just kind of get a split there. A few more comments, and we're going to get off because we're way past 9 o'clock. Jerron said, Wardam, I'm late to the party, but we should have won in regulation. Broom can't pound the ball, then take a terrible shot. CBM, come on, dude. Yep. Bottom line is, would you have loved to have seen Janai try to attack the goal a little bit more? Probably. But as Andy said, we've seen him make that shot a lot of times, and he had a good look at it, a fadeaway, maybe a little bit tired at that point playing the amount of minutes he's played, but had a chance to win it in regulation. We didn't do it. So, all right, some other of our great partners here on the program. We can't do this program without them. Sure Shot in Alexander City, for all of the outdoor needs that you have, call on Sure Shot, 256-329-0080. See them on 280, Highway 280 in Alexander City. They sell and trade new and used firearms. They have all the latest hunting apparel, all the ammo, any type of gun that you want. Check them out. Really, really great place. I get all my outdoor stuff from Sure Shot. And then Oliver Ross, a full-service bartending service to handle your party, your gathering, your get-together. They can handle as many as 20,000 down to a party of 20. So call on Oliver Ross. Check them out on Instagram and Facebook, Oliver Ross, and be the talk of the town with your party when you hire Oliver Ross. And again, Sensa Green for air that's cool and clean, Scout Program Management, and Bunkers. Can't thank all of them enough for everything they do for our program. Luke said, I didn't defend it. We'll end here. I didn't defend it, but as a newbie rivalry in the pantheon of college basketball, but you defend Bruce, who goes shirt. I didn't. I just said it. I didn't defend him. I said he gets out there and he does things. Both. I mean, I'm not. Don't hear one side of it. I'm saying both. I said both coaches have done things, and I also said that in the heat of the moment, I kind of give people a little bit of a pass because they're emotional. They work hard and they want to celebrate. But from us, I'm sorry. I'm just saying y'all are talking back and forth too, but I'm just kind of saying that both kind of get caught up in the moment. So it is what it is. And guess what? We're never going to agree. I'm never going to agree with Alabama, and Alabama's not going to agree with us. And it is what it is. So for the most part, it was a clean game. You see the players after the game, talking, and they really, really get after one another. But CBM's just got to be better, Faith, and you know that, and I know that. And if that's part of strategy, if Alabama had somebody that we could target and try to provoke, we would be doing the same thing. That's just part of the strategy of the game. And CBM's got to dig deeper. He's got to dig deeper and know that teams are going to do that, and he can't fall for it. He can't take the bait, period. So
I'm with you.
But, yeah, better than having Anthony Grant and Jeff Lebo, where nobody gives a rat's ass. I can end on that. We can agree on that, Luke, 100%. And it's not. And I'm glad you said Jeff Lebo, not Tony Barbie, because that was even worse. So, Stephen, WD to you. Hey, everybody, we went a little bit long today. I want to thank Andy Burcham for being with us. Jason ran into a little bit of a snafu, so he couldn't be on. Maybe we can get him on tomorrow. If not, he'll be back with us on Friday, and we'll talk to him then. But hope everybody has a great start to their week and a big old War Eagle SEC tournament coming up this week, and we'll be talking a lot more about it. Faith, you have fun at the beach, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Some of the rest of us will hold the fort down until you get back. Okay.
Thank you, Brett. Someone has to.
That's right. All right. War Eagle, everybody.
War Eagle.